So I'm going to tell you a story about a hope that connects to my family. The boy, his name is Vinyamin, is Benjamin. I was born in USSR, and in 1989, we left USSR and we went to Israel. And the place that the heart of the Jewish people is always looking up to. But at that time, you couldn't just fly to Israel. You really needed to take your suitcases to the airport about 24 hours before. Now, each family, and I'm now trying to connect it and to think about it, how my parents that were in their 30s, beginning of their 30s, needed to pack all their life into one suitcase per person. Now, I tell you the secret that we have two parents, right? We have me, that I was 8.5, and we had our baby brother, his name is Moshe, and he didn't get a place because he was only under one, so we kind of took over his suitcase. But I went with my dad to send the suitcases. One other fact that is very important, that you could take out in 1989 $100 per person. That's it. One suitcase, $100, living your life, try to think about that. And I'm arriving with my dad to the customs in the airport, and the customs Russian guy, really, really nasty, really, really bad, stands there and says, "Open the suitcase." And, I'm standing there, I'm 8 years old, my dad is opening the suitcase. I saw my mom packing it, unpacking it, packing it, unpacking it for probably 2 months. Okay, he's taking everything brutally, and he arrives to something that is wrapped in newspaper. And he's opening it, and there is a little Kiddush cup. He looks at the back of the Kiddush cup, and it was made out of silver, and it has a stamp. It used to belong to the grandfather, so it was from the 1800s. He looked in my father's face and says, "Sir, this is an antique. You cannot take it out of Russia." And I remember as an 8 years old, I'm looking on my father, that was the whole world for me. He was big shoulders. He was #1 in USSR in single kayak, so you can imagine his shoulders. And I saw his face, and he took his passport, and I don't know how many of your kids get to see your father doing something illegal. I hope not. But my dad taking out $100 and putting it into the passport, and he gives the custom person and says, "Take another look." And he's opening it, and he's taking $100, and he's putting it in the pocket, in his pocket, the customs guy, and he looks on my dad and he says, "Sir, this is an antique. You cannot take it out of USSR. Please leave it here, leave it with your family." And then I will never forget, as an 8 years old boy, when I looked on my dad, and I want you to understand, especially the kids, if you understand math, we had $400, and now we have $300. And now my dad, he had this most serious face that I ever saw in my life, and I didn't realize it until today or later on in my life. What does it mean? Probably until I had kids is when I realized that. But he's taking another $100 and he putting it in his passport. He's giving it to the custom guy, and the custom guy opening it, and he's taking the $100, and he's closing the passport and giving it to my dad. He is throwing everything inside, not like my mom did, was not very well organized. And he's sealing it and writing his name. And that's a memory of 8 years old. I'm going to use the time machine now to go a little bit forward. Are you ready for that? Everybody see this red button? Yeah? It's the time, if you don't, only smart people can see. Do you see the red button? Okay, so I'm gonna press that and we're gonna go back in time. But actually we're gonna go forward for this 8 years old boy. When I finished the army, I was working for the Jewish agency in summer camps in Ukraine. And I went to visit my father's brother, or half a brother, because their mother married twice, because her husband died. And he asked me, did you visit your grandmother's tomb? And I'm like, no, you should go with Grandma Maya. Savta Maya. Grandma Maya she's not Jewish, she's not really my grandmother, but she was very close to my grandmother, Shura. And we going together, and she asked me, did your dad ever told you the story of your grandmother? And I said, no. So she said, when you meet him, slap him really, really well. But that's a different story. But she said, my family and your family, your grandmother's family, were very good friends. So your grandma and me, we always used to go to our summer house together outside of Kiev. And in the Second World War, they were in the summer house. And when they came back to the train station, they didn't know that the Nazis arrived to Kiev and marched all the community to Babi Yar. But they separated. She was 12 years old. She was almost 12. She didn't even have a bat mitzvah. So she went back home. They said goodbye because nobody knew. They just came back to Kiev from outside. And when she arrived, she saw the entire house is locked with wood. And, you know, the famous Nazi emblems. She was very smart, I don't know how, but she hid it between the dumpsters. And when the dark went down and it was dark outside, she went to the window and she broke the window and she jumped in. And she went to her parents' bedroom and she opened the jewelry box. And she took her 3 things. One is her mother's golden earrings with a pearl. She took a picture of the family. She went out to the living room, to the china closet, and she took out a kiddush cup, a little kiddush cup. And she ran really quickly, and she arrived to the house of the family of Maya that was not Jewish, and they opened the door. They were worried. But they opened the door. She came in and they said, we're tomorrow leaving back to the countryside house. And you're not Maya, you're not Shura anymore. You're the sister of Maya, like everybody know you. And we're gonna move there out. And they moved out. And it was wartime and it was very hard. So the family didn't have what to eat. And she brought out from her hiding spot the golden earrings, and she gave it to the father of Maya and said, go and sell it so we have something to eat. He goes and sell it. She never took out the kiddush cup. Again, we're going to use the time machine again, because 10 years ago, and like we're in Israel, in a forest called the Kola Forest, and I'm getting married to this beautiful girl. She's here. Her name is Orly. And we're standing under the chuppah holding this kiddush cup. And I asked Maya when I was 20 years old, straight away out of the army service, I asked her why you didn't give up the kiddush cup. She said, because that's a moment that I remember as our family coming together. Exactly like you are now coming together as a community. Together, standing together, is the memory of the entire family. The golden earrings was only a family of her mother. So we're getting married on what used to be a battlefield in the Independence Day outside in a forest called Kola. And today we have two beautiful kids. And we're here, hugged, really hugged by a family from your community that took us in. The heart is in many ways there, but we have hope. And I want to tell you that I have no worries about the existing of our country. But I do want us to think about hope. And I want you to create hope. How we create hope in a situation like this? You know, sometimes it's just coming together and singing. And I love the soldier that was saying that today we really need to sing and be together and hug each other and support each other. But I think creating hope, I have one lady, her name is Yochevet, that described it in the most beautiful way. Yochevet is, how many of you have been to Israel? All right, yes. So first of all, she lives outside of Machne Yehuda market. And I know that all of you been to Machne Yehuda market if you've been to Israel, and if you didn't been to Israel, you should go. And she's the one lady that if you ever went to Nachlaot, this little neighborhood, and you went to see the different synagogues, there are beautiful synagogues, she's the lady that comes out and she screams on all the tourists and their tour guides. And in the Second Lebanon War in 2006, I went to Yochevet home and I knocked on her door and asked her what she misses the most. And she said, I miss those tourists that's sitting outside and screaming, and the guides that are explaining in front of my house. I said, why? She says, because I feel normal. So, you know, today we're creating aid and hope, and we're coming together and we're supporting Israel. You want really to support Israel? You've been to Israel? Go again. Create normality. Start planning. You don't know for when, but start planning, because, you know, I was sitting to see my team, and the one thing they're missing is what they love to do most, is to create, you know, educational programs, the love to Israel, share it. But it's exactly for Yochevet and for Shaul that is running on every single morning and love to have conversations with runners on the beach of Tel Aviv, that a lot of people, maybe if you're a runner, you know him. So try to think about what it is to create normality and hope, because I'm telling you, we're not going anywhere. And I have only one passport. So I'm happy and proud to be here and enjoy and be loved and hugged by your community. It's a hard time, but really think about how you create hope to yourself, to your kids that are amazing. I have to say, you've been singing unbelievably, like really unbelievably. We love it. So Toda Rabah and Shabbat Shalom. So use that soul that we got today as an extra soul, and create those hope moments for yourself, for your families, because Am Israel Chai. Toda Rabah.